Welcome to Measurably Better Learning, the podcast built for learning and development professionals. Whether you're an instructional designer, L&D professional, or corporate leader, get ready for insights and ideas that will transform your approach to learning, training, and development. So let's dive in.
Well, welcome to this episode of the Measurably Better podcast. I'm Miriam Taylor, and I'm here with Dr. Jerry Zandstra. And today we're talking about a topic that is on everyone's mind. And I think when we listed this topic as something to discuss, but between the time we wrote it down and we've gotten to the podcast, it's probably changed 10 times.
4 more iterations.
That's right. So obviously we're talking about AI here. But I think we wanted to, when we talked about this, we wanted to talk about moving past fear. And I think that there is a growing sense of people are moving past fear. But let's talk about different ways that we can use it.
Yeah.
And what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
In the world that we're living in. But I do think there's still a mix of feelings, and that's probably a right sense to have. So we'll talk about some of that. But what is your perspective kind of on, there's still initial apprehension out there, and people are worried about losing their jobs, and people are losing their jobs. Like we've seen that. So what's your perspective on that fear to start with?
Well, when it first comes out, AI is this wonderful, powerful thing that nobody really understands. And it's just not been that long.
No, right.
I mean, we're talking 18 months, maybe 24 months tops. It is invasive. It is ubiquitous.
Yes.
And it's the number of, I'm watching, our house, we're figuring out how to smoke a shoulder roast using it, right? And and how to hit a baseball and all these, right? And the uses. So there's a sense at first where it's unknown, it's a little bit threatening, and the natural reaction to that for 95% of people, some people are like, yes,
of course,
but the rest of us are going,
right?
It's unknown, and there's a reasonable fear of it. There's a good reason. We are hearing, there's a smattering of companies that have said no more human hiring unless you can make the case. And some big companies have said this, that this cannot be done by an AI bot.
Yeah.
And there's some big folks out there that have made that statement. And there will be more, undoubtedly. And you see, restaurant chains messing around with this, and trucking chains, and manufacturing, and a whole bunch of people. So I don't want to dismiss the fears.
I think that's a good point.
Some of them are very legitimate, and particularly in for people who are creative, their job, who are writing, who are graphic designers, who are creating learning. There's some concern here because in translation and in other things, because some of this stuff is it automated.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
Yeah, it is more efficient.
Faster.
All of it. Yeah.
And so I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. And I think there's going to be a pretty quick divide. Matter of fact, I was reading an article just this morning. One huge industry leader said this is going to absolutely destroy the vast majority of jobs.
Really?
And another equally well-known, very, very well-known, outspoken guy. Anyway. Yeah, you still own the Mavericks. You can figure it out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But he said, I see it exactly the opposite. I see it as a job creator.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those guys is right?
Yeah.
But it is a tool, and the fact of the matter is it's no longer unknown.
Right. Agreed.
So now we don't have to be afraid of the unknown because we have the opportunity to play and learn with it. The question is, are you going to embrace it, or you can put your head in the sand? That, I think, is where there will be a huge workforce divide. Some people will embrace it and start to see it as a tool and become really, really good at it. And I think other people, unfortunately, that decide not to make that shift, I don't see a solid path forward for them. I
Yeah.
would like to be
Yeah.
more optimistic than that, but
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I just don't. I don't see how that goes. So, when we jump into the learning side of things, I mean, break apart your learning process from the first time you hear of something that needs to be trained to doing a needs analysis, to creating objectives, to creating storyboards, to creating scripts, to creating graphics, to an alpha beta goal, to review cycles, to translation. Um, and name for me which one of those things is untouched by AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't name any.
Right. Absolutely.
But at the same time, you can't just let AI do that, right? There's a human being, a group of human beings with different skills and different backgrounds and different eyes and different perspectives that all can feed in and use that tool. You can either look at that and reject that,
Mm.
or you can learn to master it. And I hate binary choices,
Yeah. Either or.
but I think we're kind of at a binary choice moment in the learning community that we're going to embrace it or we're going to continue with fear. And I think the path of continuing with fear is you're putting yourself in the horse and buggy era
Yeah. Oh,
and
it's huge risk.
and the
Mm.
typewriter era when the Apple II comes out, right, and Microsoft and so on. And I think there's really a pretty clear choice of what we need to do. So is there a good reason for fear? Yep. What are you going to do with it?
Right. No, completely. And I think when we come back, we're going to talk about maybe some practical ways because
Mhm.
we've, like you said, I mean, there's really not a choice. And so if our listeners are, members of learning teams or leading them, I had a client, it was maybe at most 4 months ago who said, nope, our company said we're not using it at all because they're in a pretty, there's a lot of privacy and legal regulations around their industry. Completely get that. To within 2 months saying, nope, we've made changes. We're able to use it. We're able,
They went
because
from known to
exactly
unknown to known.
to know.
And then
Mhm.
when they got to known, they embraced it.
Yep. Yeah. So when we come back, let's talk about some of those practical ways we can use it as learning experience designers. Yeah.
Good.
Imagine a world where every training session, every learning module, and every translated document is aligned with your company's unique goals and global ambitions. Welcome to Ingenuity, where we don't just talk about elevating your corporate learning, we make it happen. At Ingenuity, we understand the heart of your business is its people. That's why we specialize in creating custom learning solutions and translation services that are not just effective, but are designed specifically for your business's global needs. Let us show you how learning cannot be just better, but measurably better, with solutions tailored just for you. Learn more in the description below.
Well, welcome back. We want to take a moment now and kind of think through practical applications, or I don't even say practical applications, places where we are already seeing AI being implemented, inroads in learning design within learning departments. So I know, Jerry, you have a few ideas. I'd love to hear specifically what some of those are.
Yeah. So let's say you make the mental commitment to move past fear.
Mm-hmm.
Set that aside. And start to look at the bright, shiny day in front of you. Because it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. I'm not the most technical person in the world, but I'm sometimes stunned at what I'm able to do.
Yeah, right.
Which is a
You look very impressive. Yeah.
does what people with some solid technical skills can do. So think of the opportunities of a personalized learning path. Of it knows you. This is a little creepy, but it might go out and look at your social media. It might see, the kinds of movies or books you read or articles or what you subscribe to or don't subscribe to and what your hobbies are. And right. And take all of that kind of information that marketers use.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at your work history and your education background and your language skills and your technical skills and so on. And literally build something custom to you. It's kind of like being in a restaurant and ordering off the menu, or the chef comes out and sits at
Right.
your table and says, the last time you really enjoyed a meal, or where do you usually like to eat? Or what really and I'm going to go back in the kitchen and in an hour, I'm going to bring out the meal of a lifetime. right? I mean,
I could use that's totally off the subject,
Or
but I could really use that chef at my house.
or just some warm food, right?
Exactly.
Just some
Really
warm food
anything.
made by somebody else.
That's
So,
right.
but
Yeah.
that kind of experience,
Mhm.
something tailored specifically to you,
Mhm.
is so cool.
Right.
I mean, it's I always thought, like, I think I would love to have spent a month just sitting at the feet of Aristotle
Hmm.
and just listening and asking questions, right? But in this instance, Aristotle knows everything
Right,
about me, I
right.
think,
Yeah,
knows a
yeah.
lot of things about me
Yeah.
and could tailor that
Mhm.
to me.
Mhm.
A personalized learning
Mhm.
path, we're going to win all the efficiency and cost arguments and all of that stuff. But it also, I mean, the just-in-time learning and learning in
The
the flow of
user
work,
experience.
user
Yeah,
experience.
motivation. They're so excited to do it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can see this already. So if I'm looking for how to do something, if I type it into Google, I get 330,000
Mhm.
websites to look at. I look at the first 5,
Mhm.
and they all start with the history of how to grow tomatoes. I don't care about.
We talked it right,
I
right.
want to know. You know, there's a little trick. You sometimes put an antacid
Mm.
in the at the bottom of the plant because it helps it. I think it's calcium. I don't even remember.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
look at any of that anymore. I go straight to AI. It's going to get rid
Mhm.
of all the ads.
Mhm.
It's going to get rid of all the superfluous stuff I don't care about. And it's going to drill down, personalized to me, depending on the question I ask. That experience can happen in learning
Mhm.
through AI.
Mhm.
And that's a remarkable thing.
You realize I'm holding you to a higher standard with your tomatoes now. Because if you'd have
I
personalized information to make them the best, I
think
expect the best tomato.
in 3 months,
Okay.
I will be able to prove my point.
Okay.
And it kind of gets at, we talked before about, content being curated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
Right.
it yeah.
And in the past, one of us, and we did this for a little while,
We did.
where, okay, you read this and I'll read this and you send me notes and I'll send you notes. And then we could create a Google Doc where we
Mm.
both put our notes in the same
Right.
place. And that was so cool. We were swapping documents. AI can curate. Not always accurate.
Right.
Sometimes some really funky stuff shows up in there, right? No doubt. There's glitches. There's always glitches. But there's also a glitch sometimes when I read stuff and I didn't really understand what I
Right.
was reading or I was thinking about something else.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that ability to curate massive amounts and boil down and make it, easily palatable to the individual learner. Same thing I think with feedback and assessments.
Yeah.
Um, I can, for a long time, I would buy something, do something, and then I get a survey,
Yeah. Right. Of course.
right? And I can see AI's influence in the surveys now.
Mhm.
If I answer something, it's going to take me, it's branching.
Hmm.
If I give something a 5 out of 10, if I give it 10 out of 10, it's going to take me one place. If I give it a 5, if I give it a 1 out of 10, and it's fun to do. And I now
You
do it
do
a
it,
lot
I'm
of,
sure. Mhm.
but it used to be those things were built out. They are all AI. I shouldn't say all. Many of them are AI driven, and they are responding to me. And to be able to do that in surveys and feedback and gather that kind of information and then analyze it.
Mhm.
It's, some of us have no information. Most of us are awash in data and we have no
That's
idea what
right.
matters and what
Mhm.
doesn't because all these cool, business systems and LMSs are collecting all these cool statistics and we end up with a 37-page spreadsheet of, 18 columns long.
Yeah, there's no meaning to it that
I don't know
we
what
can
it
figure
is,
out.
right?
Yeah.
So the ability to broadly survey, individualize surveys, gather the data, synthesize it, analyze it, and feed us almost close to real time.
Mhm.
Marvelous. Just and can there, I want to say again, can there be glitches? Yup. But there are going to be glitches anyway if a human being does it. So things like that are incredibly cool.
Well, yeah, and you talk about feedback. I mean, I think even just if you think about individual learning, like a small e-learning module, you know, how many times have we gone through basic knowledge checks? And it's like, I just measured that I paid attention for 10 minutes, but I don't really know it.
Right.
And so to be able to give feedback powered by AI, it's like, here's a good answer, here's a better answer, here's the best answer,
Yeah.
here's why. If you didn't get it, we're going to, like you said, we're going to send you on a path, and you're going to, and we do that a lot in our learning, but we have to do it manually. We have
Yeah.
to write all that in.
Right.
And the ability to have some of that generated and auto, I mean, I just think the ability for people to truly learn,
Yeah.
these, excuse me, so everything's always a formative assessment because I'm always learning and relearning and expanding my knowledge.
And you end up with 100% of knowledge rather than 80%, which is and 80% multiplied times 100. It's not great.
Okay, and then
You
across
have
your
a-
whole
you-
company, your
right.
whole,
You
yeah,
end up with a huge gap.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
don't know it. So,
yeah. Well, thank you, Jerry. We could talk about AI for
and we will.
so very long, and we will continue to do so, but I think these are some good critical first thoughts,
Yeah.
and I appreciate them.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet.
Before we wrap up the show, if you're looking to dive deeper, we've got tons of free downloads, L&D resources, and details about upcoming webinars that you won't want to miss. They're found in the episode description. Plus, if you ever want to chat with either one of us, now's your chance. You can find links in the episode description to connect directly with Miriam or me. We're here to answer your questions and to discuss all things learning and development. And speaking of questions, we love hearing from you. Whether it's a question or a comment or a topic you're curious about, or if you just want to join the conversation, drop us a comment on your favorite social media channel. Your input shapes our shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. It's the best way to ensure you never miss out on our latest episode. We're excited to continue to transform learning into a measurable success with you. Until next time.